Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar on Digital Product Sampling 101. We're super excited to get started. We're just going to let a few more people come in and get started very, very soon. And Karen, my colleague from Sampler, will also join me in just 1 minute. Hi, Karen. Excited to be co-hosting with you today.
Absolutely, we're gonna have so much fun.
No trick questions, I hope. It's always so stressful to do live Q&A. We never know. What could we ask? What could we get at? All right. So we're just going to let a few more people come in. Thank you so much again for joining us. I'm the founder of Sampler, started Sampler now 7 years ago with the vision to develop a digital product sampling platform. And obviously now it's getting a lot more traction with everything going on. So it's super exciting times. I'll let Karen introduce herself quickly as we let people roll in.
Awesome. So I'm Karen, and I'm a senior account manager here at Sampler. I'm responsible for the delivery and planning of all of these sampling programs to make sure that brands get the most out of their sampling program, as well as, give people ideas on what they can do with all of the awesome data that they collect. So really excited to share all of that with you today.
Karen is very humble, but she might be the person who knows the most about how to efficiently run a digital sampling program in the world. So excited to have her with us today. So we'll let people roll in, and ultimately, as we get started, I would love to start to get to know you. So maybe we could start with that, actually. We're going to be publishing a poll that will be asking you a few questions. So why don't we start with that? So we'll launch the first one, which is which of these describes your field of work? So are you in brand marketing? Are you in shopper marketing, digital marketing? Are you a business owner? Or are you from another group? That will be really helpful in helping us understand. Perfect. Thank you so much, Leah. Would you be able to publish those results for us? Wow, awesome. So majority of folks are coming from brand marketing or shopper marketing today, some digital marketing specialists, as well as business owners. So good mix of people. If you're in the others, please make sure that you ask questions. Wherever you come from, please ask questions in the question box. You'll find that on the right side of the GoToWebinar platform. You can submit questions there. So we'll definitely look to cater to all of you. So if one of your questions is not answered, please put it there. And I want to also encourage you to stay connected with us by using the hashtag #SamplerTalks. It's a hashtag that you can use on any social media, although we do a lot of talking on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So do use hashtag #SamplerTalks if you want to continue the conversation with us as we go. To get to know you just a little bit better, I might ask another question. Have you managed a physical sampling program before? So think about in-store, experiential. Have you been responsible or part of a team that has done that before? All right, Leah, let's bring the magic. 69%, so yeah, nearly 70% of people have managed an in-store or experiential sampling program. So perfect. So you'll bring that that experience, and I'll ask that on the digital side. So have you ever executed a digital sampling program before? Kind of funny, Karen, we hosted a 101, and we're supposed to be asked the questions, but I'm asking so many questions to kick us off, but that's all right. That was the last one. And about 42%, so less than half of you have actually created a digital sampling program before. So some context in the room, which is always awesome, but we'll make sure to get you all the 101 so that you can actually get up to speed real quick. So I'll start. I'll get started with actually walking you through, setting up a little bit about what we'll be talking about today. Ultimately, product sampling has been an effective way for brands to connect with consumers for a very long time. And we know that. And it's because if you think about it, well, let's just make sure my slides will change. Brand experiences like product testing and in-person events, they've been around forever. In fact, like what we're seeing is that a brand might spend anywhere between 7 to 10% of their marketing budget on product sampling on average. And then so there's some brands that are actually spending way more. I'm thinking of Red Bull, right? We think of Red Bull and how they, had the cars driving, giving out Red Bull. In some of their early years, it was as much as 50% of their marketing budget that was actually spent on product sampling. So it's a really big part of a brand's budget typically. And it makes sense. It's because when I am distributing a sample to a consumer, I'm giving them the opportunity to taste, feel, touch the product in a way that really can get them straight to consideration. If you think about it, there's no better way than tasting the product to make a decision on whether or not you'll purchase it in the future. And so what we're seeing is that this is actually really important, especially now, because you've probably seen this slide 100 million times with in different contexts, but the reality is true. The path to purchase is definitely not linear. With the rise of e-commerce, we're seeing that consumers need multiple different touch points, multiple different personalized touch points before they convert to purchase. And now with COVID, it's becoming even more complex. So with that in mind, having a vehicle that can get a consumer straight to consideration is invaluable. And that's why we're seeing that product sampling is actually accelerating in its growth, accelerating in the percentage of spend of the marketing spend that marketing teams are putting. And at the same time, as we're seeing more people leaning towards product sampling, the pandemic has made it really difficult for brands to actually connect with consumers via product experiences because consumers are actually wary of receiving product samples in physical events or in person-to-person interactions. In fact, 46% of people that Sampler polled said that they will never feel comfortable with sampling in store again. In fact, they say that they're ways away from feeling comfortable with receiving a warm cheese ball on a napkin and on Costco sample Sundays, right? And it's obviously quite understandable. Now we see that 26% of consumers say that they will be open to it if it's in a single-use sample. So think about a closed package, right? The problem is for all of us marketers is that the real value of an in-store demo is that same-day purchase, right? Is that same-day, same-store purchase. So if I'm giving out a closed package at the store and the consumer waits to go home to consume, am I really going to be able to create that same lift? So you look at this and this pushes more and more brands to think about the power of digital product sampling. And we're not saying to switch to digital product sampling only. We're not saying that all budgets will be moving to digital product sampling necessarily, but we're saying that there's a huge shift to it, not just because of these consumer trends, but also because product sampling direct to home is quite powerful. And it actually gives you a data-driven approach, and I'll let Karen talk about that. But what we're seeing is that once a brand sees the power of distributing a sample to a consumer digitally first and gathering consumer data on this experience, it's really hard for them to justify to go back and giving samples kind of randomly to whoever walks by. And I think you'll see that power as we describe digital product sampling and answer your questions later. So I'll pass it off to you, Karen.
Awesome. Thanks, Marie. So let's dive right into it. Let's see what digital product sampling looks like. So for us, it's really important that we're building a high value and personalized consumer experience. And that looks like the following screens in a few steps. So step one is consumers can, come directly to Sampler and connect with Sampler. We're supported by all of the platforms, and we see that a majority of our consumers are actually accessing our platform through mobile, so they can do this anywhere that they are. Which brings us to the second screen, where after they've connected with us, we'll be asking them a few questions, such as, what is your skin type? What are your skin concerns? Do you have any children? Where do you shop? So this is where they tell us a little bit about themselves, who they are as a person, to make sure that the samples we're showing them are personalized to their own preferences. And that brings us to screen 3. So once a consumer has told us a little bit about themselves, they will see all of the samples that match their preference. So that's how we know that your sample are going to your targeted audience only. Now, what's really cool about our solution is that not only do they see your samples, they actually have to raise their hand to say, I want this specific granola bar or this specific eye mask. They are self-selecting, and with that, you'll see increased engagement from the consumers directly. Now, once they've selected their physical samples, they actually also get the opportunity to select e-commerce offers on screen 4. So this is great for brands that might not have sample sizes, or their product is not suitable to be sampled physically, but they do have direct-to-consumer online distribution. That's definitely an opportunity that they can leverage to also get their products into the hands of targeted consumers. Lastly, once the consumer has customized their box with these great physical and digital offers, they get to input their shipping address and tell us where to ship their awesome things. But more importantly, on screen 5, they actually get to opt into your brand. So those are emails that you actually own, and you can reach out to consumers and build that relationship directly with them. So shortly after they claim the sample, they get a beautiful box at home. Our packaging is amazing. We definitely went for the premium feel with the craft paper. And they get to do the whole unboxing experience at home. Now, what does that mean for the brand? While the consumer is trying the product at home, the brand actually has access to real-time tracking in our dashboard. So this dashboard allows you to see in real time how many samples have been claimed, who have been claiming them, are they females, are they males, where do they live, how old they are, but more excitingly, about their lifestyle. Maybe 50% of consumers who claim this cleanser had dry skin. Maybe their top concerns are hydration and fine lines. So all of this data that you have access to in real time to help you make better marketing decisions. But that's not the end of the journey. We believe that having multiple touch points is very, very important in building that relationship with the consumers. So as a part of every sampler program, we have built in a cadence for an additional remarketing coupon. So you can add an e-commerce coupon or even a downloadable coupon to direct consumers to your website or in stores and get them closer to the next purchase. Additionally, there's also a coupon, a survey that's included in every program that helps brands close the loop. So once the consumer has tried the product, this is your chance to ask them, did you like it? Did you not like it? Why did you not like it? But also collect important data points like ratings and reviews that you can use for e-commerce. As we all know, we're shopping a lot more online than in store these days. So having ratings and reviews is very, very important so that consumers know that your product is approved by their peers. Awesome. So, to sum it up, digital product sampling is very, very simple. It just takes a few steps. And, it's really great because you get to make sure that all of your samples go to targeted people and not just people, passing by on the street. You get to access this very strong, pool of consumer data, as well as collect these CRM opt-ins. And that's probably my favorite part of digital product sampling, that you get to own all of these emails of consumers and really continue the relationship after they've had a chance to try your product. And there's a lot of other benefits, like we mentioned, collecting ratings and reviews and being able to really track the impact of your program directly. And those are the key things to definitely take in mind when you're thinking about your sampling plan.
Love it, Karen. And one of the questions I often get when we present this flow is, well, is this a mobile app? Is this something that the consumer has to download? And I mean, the answer is no, right? So Sampler is a web app, so we can help brands create either a fully branded web app. So actually what you're seeing on the screen right now is a fully branded La Roche-Posay experience. So La Roche-Posay installed Sampler's technology on their own sites, within their own ads, within their own digital services. And ultimately, we powered all the steps that Karen mentioned. Or we have the Sampler Exchange, which is the experience that we took a look at here, which is more branded Sampler, where consumers are joining our network and ultimately answering questions and being matched with products that match their lifestyle. I always kind of like to say, this one is kind of like Tinder for product sampling. You're matching consumers based on their lifestyle and the product that we know they'll love. So there's multiple options, but today, to get you started, we just wanted to give you a high level overview of all of the opportunities and the key benefits of digital product sampling. So as a reminder, you can, this is a live Q&A, so it's you creating the content. We actually were very lucky to get some pre-submitted questions, so thank you very much to those that did. If you haven't, go to the right side of the screen in the questions section and submit your questions. We'll start with some of the pre-submitted questions, and then we'll start answering this group's questions as we go along. So let me start with the first question. I'll take it. So the first one is, do you think the industry will revert back to traditional sampling post-pandemic and once things get back to normal? And the reality is there's a lot of studies that have just actually recently this week been submitted that shows that consumers are eager to go back into stores, right? I think that consumers are looking forward to going back and picking their own vegetables and discovering products in stores. And we're seeing retailers really focused on that trend, focused on the discovery trend, the experience trend. And I think that that's awesome. And I definitely think that no one should be divesting in traditional retail as a channel. It's definitely going to continue to grow. Having said that, as I said in the introduction, consumers are going to be expecting new formats in store. They're going to be expecting closed packages. They're going to be expecting that they're going to be taking that sample home for consumption, potentially not consuming it in the store. And I believe that that will be for quite some time as we can all get more comfortable with that person-to-person contact, that person handing us out a product that is potentially wide open. So my biggest recommendation to all is to really start thinking about your product sampling formats. Are they good for e-commerce? Are they good for digital? Are they good for in-store sampling in a closed package setting? So start by thinking about that, because it will not go back to the same format, to the same, cup to lips experience. It's going to be different. And so that's the main thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that we are seeing it with the customers that we're working with. The moment you start creating data-driven product sampling programs and you realize that their costs are very similar, you will be challenged to think of a better way of sampling than to be data-driven. I mean, I hear it from brands all the time. Now that I can collect an email from a consumer when I sample online, now that I can understand who I'm sampling to, it's going to be difficult for me to go right back to traditional. So we're seeing brands are going to be taking more of a blended approach, and both have their strengths. But with digital sampling, you can target a store, you can target a specific retailer. So a lot of the things that were benefits of in-store can now be recreated with digital. So I think it's going to be a mix, and I hope and I strongly encourage all of you to think about these new formats and these new experiences. The second question, so Karen, maybe you'll take that one. How can you help drive, oh, sorry, I'll just read the question for you. How can you help drive lower funnel conversion with a digital sampling program? Great question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So there's a few different ways. So the first part in which a sampler helps is that we incorporate multiple remarketing cadences in the journey so that you can actually collect data on, asking consumers whether or not they've purchased as well as their purchase intent, and that helps brands kind of build out an ROI metric. We also include a follow-up coupon, so you can actually track redemptions directly from the coupon. And some of our brands actually include a branded insert or a branded kind of in-store coupon that consumers can redeem as well. So there's multiple ways you can track the redemption. The second part of this question is really, allowing the brands to have ownership over consumer data, such as the emails, that really help you to continue the relationship. It's not a touch and go from product sampling. It's really the beginning of a long journey with this consumer. So with emails, you're able to do lookalike targeting and really personalize your messaging to these consumers, because you know what their lifestyle is like. You know whether or not they're likely to buy this product or even other products from your portfolio. So it's really using those data points to derive a personalized communication strategy with these consumers that will ultimately help them get closer to the next purchase and the next purchase after that. So there's a lot of different ways it's really, owning that data. And actually for 2021, we will be looking to incorporate more retailer data as well as direct-to-consumer purchase data into our ecosystem as well, which will allow brands to gain an even better and more concrete look into their ROI from their sampler programs.
Amazing. We're getting so many questions from the audience, so I'm going to throw a couple at us that won't have a slide, just so that we can answer for those that ended up attending. I'll take one for a question from Kelly. So Kelly asks, do you think that having multiple brands arrive in one box dilutes the experience for the individual brand? And so let me answer that. So Kelly, you're probably referring to our sampler exchange experience, which I believe we showed here, right? So what you're seeing here is a box that has a sample of La Roche-Posay, which is a cosmetic product. We have a Tim Hortons product, which is a Canadian coffee brand. We have a baby product with the diapers from Huggies, and we have a shampoo product from Love Beauty Planet. So what you're seeing here is that sampler will never distribute two samples from the same category. Actually, our algorithm will make sure that at the sample selection stage, so this stage, we will never show two products that are from competitive brands. So absolutely not. Our goal here is to make sure that you are showcased as the leader in your category, as the preferred product for that category in that moment, and you will never be beside a competitor. Now, if you wanted to create an experience that was more fully branded and you wanted to just showcase your product, you have the ability to do that on Sampler. And we showed that actually on this slide, where La Roche-Posay actually did a program where they were the only product in the box. And so you absolutely can do that. But again, there are measures in place to make sure that your brand shines as in the cosmetic category or the beverage category. Let's go back to the questions that were pre-submitted. Maybe I'll go back to you, Karen. This one, what kind of insights do brands gather from their sampling programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the most kind of simple data that they gather from our programs is, who are your consumers? You're able to see their age, demographics, where they shop, what their lifestyle is like. But what we do at the end of each program is actually we dive deep into the insights to help you understand, are there subsegments of this audience that you're targeting that are more likely to purchase your product? So for example, if you were targeting different skin concerns, we might dive in to see maybe consumers who are experiencing fine lines are more likely to repurchase your product. And we'll be able to identify those segments for you, but also come up with actionable recommendations as to how you can continue to target those consumers and bring them closer to the next purchase. Additionally, for some brands, growing distribution might be very important to them. For those brands, we might be able to pull some more retailer-specific data. For example, maybe Target shoppers are more likely to purchase this product. And those are insights that they can then go to these retailers and help them grow distribution there. So there's a variety of different kinds of insights that we can gather. We're very, very flexible. It all depends on what you as a brand are looking to achieve.
I love that. Perfect. I'll take another question from the audience. So this one is from Nick. Nick is asking us, can you target specific geographies? And also, can you target people who have identified preferences, such as being vegan? And that is my favorite question in the world, because the answer is absolutely yes. So if you were part of the earlier portion of today's webinar, you would have seen that when I'm creating my sampler profile as a shopper or as a consumer, I'm actually answering a poll, a questionnaire, right? And that questionnaire will ask me things like, where do I shop? It'll ask me my age. It will ask me about my diet preferences. We have 700 segments that you can target against. And those 700 segments have everything from lifestyle questions like how often do I work out, to eating style, so vegan would definitely be one of them, or gluten-free. We have hobbies like, am I a music lover? Am I a foodie? We have ultimately family and household questions. How many kids do you have? Are you expecting? So those are all questions that you can target against. So absolutely, we can get very specific. We also got another question that was focused on, that was ultimately focused on geography. So really good questions. So absolutely. So Sampler can target based on metro area, as well as also potentially places people shop. So if you're from the shopper marketing group on this call, if you're looking to target a consumer who shops at Kroger and potentially actually I should think of another one. Let's say Whole Foods, and you're looking to target someone who's in Palo Alto, that would be something we could do. So San Francisco geo and Whole Foods would be something that we could absolutely do. I hesitated on the Kroger. I'm sorry. It's just because I couldn't think about the geos that Kroger was in. So that's the only reason, but we could absolutely do Kroger as well. So I hope that helps as far as who we can target and how we can target. We also got another question. I'm just going to throw all of those in together, but it was about the size of Sampler's audience. So Sampler can reach up to 50 million consumers in North America. So our reach is via multiple different partnerships that we've developed. We've developed partnerships with large online publishers that actually host sampling programs powered by Sampler. So you might have seen the Sampler application installed on a website like InTouch, or potentially on Men's Health. So we power those sampling programs, and therefore can expand our reach that way. So large audience can be super targeted. So please don't hesitate, to send us your needs as it relates to that, because tons of opportunities. All right, well, I'm seeing maybe another question that I can send to you, Karen. Karen, what are some of the best practices when it comes to collecting consumer feedback?
Yeah, I love that question. So I think the most important part is to make sure that you're actually collecting objective feedback. We want to make sure that the data that you collect is not biased in any way. So one of the things that we do is that we actually don't incentivize consumers to answer our survey, and we also don't penalize them if they don't answer it positively. And that really ensures that the feedback that we're delivering back to the brand is objective and is what the consumer really thinks. Now, when it comes to more tactical things on collecting consumer feedback, you want to make sure that the way you're phrasing the question really helps gather data in an objective way, but also in a measurable way that really helps answer your questions. So we have, our team here is actually very specialized in coming up with the right ways to ask the questions so that you can actually get concrete answers to your hypothesis. And that's a big part of what we do here. We do a lot of thinking about A/B testing and really being able to get the consumer feedback that helps you answer your biggest consumer questions directly from the consumers themselves.
Love it. We also got a few people asking us about how we can make sure that freebie hunters or people who just want free stuff and don't want to leave feedback or don't have an intent to purchase don't get access to the samples. So I can answer that one. So as it relates to those types of consumers, we're very familiar with them. So what we do is you'll notice on our experience, and this is true for every single sampler experience, there's a connect with sampler button. When consumers connect with sampler, they have to enter their full name, their email, as well as their mobile phone number. The mobile phone number is really important in authenticating the consumer and making sure that they are actually coming from a unique household, that they are actually a unique consumer and they're not trying to create multiple accounts. What we do is once you enter your mobile phone number, we text your mobile device and ask you to confirm with the code that you are indeed the individual associated with that mobile phone number. Every account can only have, or every mobile phone number can only have one account. So that takes care of making sure it's one individual. Now, whether we like it or not, there are websites out there that promote freebies and they talk about them, and sometimes they make a lot of campaigns go viral very quickly. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not exactly the intended consumer, right? So the other thing that Sampler has is we have a long, exhaustive list of every single freebie site or coupon site in North America. It's a very long list, and we block traffic that is directly referred from those websites. That means that the consumer, we don't actually block it and like give them a blank page, but this means that these consumer accounts that log in from those websites will actually get a flag on their sampler account, and that will reduce their likelihood or completely block them, depending on their behavior, from claiming samples. So really tons of flags as it relates to really monitoring that type of traffic. And then the last thing I would say is we have to remember the process of Sampler is about asking targeted questions to consumers and matching those consumers with the products that match their lifestyle. So if, for example, you know, a consumer, let's say you're a baby brand and you're targeting a new mom, if the mom says she's expecting, she will be matched with your product. If she's not expecting, she won't be matched with your product. So the extra level of targeting is also a really, really good way of ensuring that, you know, your product gets into the hands of the right person. Hope that clarifies. Karen, I'll throw another one to you. There's a question from Pauline. Is there a way to sample refrigerated products with Sampler?
Yeah, for sure. You know, sampling refrigerated products has been challenging in general because the shipping process is very tends to be very pricey and harder to manage. So, you know, on Sampler's end, we have a much more cost-efficient option for these brands to sample via a free product coupon. So this is great because it brings people in store, but it's also great because it doesn't necessarily limit the consumer's selection to just that one product. A lot of our brands that we work with that do frozen or refrigerated sampling will send a free product coupon that is valid for, 5 or 10 different products that the consumer can choose one of. So it's really interesting because the consumer then gets to pick the product that resonates the most to them within your lineup. And we've seen some great success with some of these sampling programs as well. So that's definitely an option for brands with perishable products.
Love that. Perfect. Another question, and I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to go back to this screen again, just to give a visual. But we got 2 questions from 2 different Michelles, so that's kind of cool. And it was the same question, or very similar. So one of them asked, I work with some smaller brands. Are there options to share the cost or scale the cost across several brands? And then the other Michelle actually asked whether or not we can create partnerships between brands. And this is exactly what you're seeing on the screen. So the sampler exchange product is the one that you'll be looking for. The sampler exchange allows you to place your brand into our network of samples that are available. You tell us who you want to target, and automatically the technology will not only match you with the right consumer, but also match you with like-minded brands that are targeting a similar consumer. And in the end, what that does is it allows the products that to all be distributed together into one sampler box. If you were shipping your product alone direct to consumer, it would be way more expensive than sharing the cost of the sampling with others. And so the sampler exchange, just to give you context, prices for emerging brands and for large brands at a much lower cost, because we are able to actually share the efficiency of fulfillment across multiple brands. So the average box ships with 2.5 is the current average samples. So the one thing I will say is, don't worry, this is not a sampling program where your brand will be beside 15 other products. This is not what this is. This is really focused on, probably on average, like I said, 2.5. So you're looking at 2-3 product samples together, and 3 samples together brings a ton of cost efficiencies on fulfillment. So you'll be really happy to know that that's absolutely possible. And please do look for the sampler exchange as the right product for you. All right, Karen, what else have we got? We have a question on what's the timeline from product selection till delivery? Is there a fixed timing for the packaging of shipments? So I'm assuming from a consumer perspective, this question comes.
Yeah, so our fulfillment actually works on a rolling basis. So we do ship samples out as they are claimed. So it's not like consumers have to wait a very long time for all of the shipments to go out at once. Typically, pending any postal delays, we typically see that consumers receive their package in hands about three weeks or so after they've claimed the samples. A little bit longer for those who live in Hawaii, but yeah, it's usually not a very long time between claiming and receiving it in hand.
Well, if you're living in Hawaii, I mean, you can wait a little, right? Like you're you're very lucky in Hawaii. Hawaii, I live in Hawaii, but I get my sample shipments a little later. I love that. So one more, go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking maybe there was one for you. Did we answer the size of our community?
Yeah, I did actually, as part of another, but the size of our community is 50 million consumers. And again, it's via partnership with large online publishers like Men's Health that we've been able to grow to that size. So there will be no problem finding your audience. And again, we can get super, super targeted. So absolutely no problem helping you create programs of all shapes and sizes and scale. One question also we got from Kelly was, given the propensity for mobile users, which is a really good point, about 80% of consumers who are on Sampler are on a mobile device. But the question is, how do you define, how do you target an older demographic? So what is the age range of our demographics? So I actually pulled up our demographic as this question came in, and our age range is really anywhere between 18 up to 65 plus. And you're right. I mean, 65 plus is definitely the smaller a smaller percentage of our audience. It's more like around 2% of our audience. But as it relates to the audience between 45 to 64%, it's anywhere between 10 to 15% of our audience. So still a big portion of our audience. So we have consumers from 18 to 65 plus on the platform. So you can definitely target against those age demographics. No surprise probably, but our most popular age demographic, which is 44% of our demographic, is between 25 and 34. We also do really well between 35 and 44, if that's helpful. All right, well, there's a question around whether or not we have a fixed set of parameters for target selection. So that's a really good question. So Sampler actually has 700 segments. Oh my God, 700 segments that you could target against. Again, there are categories like eating style, for example. Those questions are all developed by our data scientists, and they're all meant to be exhaustive. So for example, if we're asking about eating style, we've really thought about it from a market research approach, and we've thought about how do I make sure that I cover every single eating style. Now, obviously, eating styles is one of probably the things that changes quite often. So let's say a new diet came about, the same way keto did. We would definitely be continuing to increase ad options. Now, if in the rare occasion that your brand comes forward with a targeting parameter that we hadn't thought about already, we would work with you to create that segment, and we would absolutely start collecting data on it. Now, I will tell you, 99.5% of all of our clients find the segment that they're looking for from our existing segments list of 700. Oh, cool question, Karen. We are being asked if we work in Canada and if we are a Canadian company. Do you want to answer that?
Absolutely. So we are very, very Canadian. All of our staff is in Toronto. So if you're in Toronto, please say hi. So yeah, we're very Canadian. Downtown Toronto, Marie started this company in her apartment, and we've been in Toronto since.
And we operate in the US and Canada, so don't think that because we are based in Canada, we don't operate in the US. The US is 80% of our sample volume, so it's a large percentage of our business. And actually, funny enough, while we started Sampler in Canada, we went to market in the US first. So again, 80% of our sample volume is in the US. We ship centrally from our warehouse in Chicago in the US and from Pickering, Ontario, if you're working with us in Canada. We also do work globally, so we've done campaigns actually in 27 or 25 countries. I seem to get that number wrong every time, but prominently in Western Europe. So, lots of programs in London, or sorry, not London, the UK and France. And so, yeah, so that's kind of our geographies. But while we're based in Toronto, not limited just to Canada. All right, should we go back to Oh, cool. We got Kelly that said hi from the 6. I love it. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's go back to some of the let's go back to some of the questions that were pre-asked. I'm not sure, was that one for me or for you, Karen? Do you want to answer that one, or it was yours?
Yeah, I'll take it. So, if you're in shopper marketing, would you be able to target consumers that shop at a specific store? Absolutely. So like Marie mentioned, we are able to gather where consumers shop. And what's really interesting about this is some brands say, hey, I have an in-store activation at this banner in, let's say, April. So I would like to time the sampler program to that time so that consumers get the samples ahead of time with an insert telling them to go buy this product at Target. And then once by the time they get the postcard, the promotion is running in stores. So it really helps you build a more holistic campaign as well, so that consumers, get to try the product, and when they're ready to buy, your store is kind of top of mind for them. That's one use case. Now, the other use case is also that, because you have this retailer specific data that you'll have access to, it really helps you build a stronger story to the retailer directly, being able to say, hey, 80% of your shoppers really, really loved this product of ours, and you should really think about promoting that product a little bit more, and really highlighting that product in your stores. So there's a lot of things we can do for shopper marketing. Absolutely.
Love that. Perfect. We also got another question from the audience. For a new brand in the awareness stage, is there an opportunity to push a consumer to select your sample as they may not be familiar with it? So that's a really good question. So at Sampler, we really believe in the importance of ensuring that the consumer opts in for your product. Having said that, the consumer type that goes onto Sampler is all about discovery. They're not worried about, trying a new brand. This is why they come to Sampler. They want to try new brands. So consumers are really willing to do it. The other thing to keep in mind is that Sampler, in the way that we charge, is on a performance basis. So even if a consumer, decided to pass on your product, you will not be charged an impression fee or a fee for showing them the option. You will only be charged when we ship a sample to a consumer, therefore when a consumer chooses to distribute. And so it's really never happened that a brand has a sample goal and that we can't reach it by matching them with a consumer who is opted in to want to receive the product. So in short, we'll continue to show your product until we can make sure that it's distributed to the right person, but it will always be a product that it will always be someone who's opted in. Karen, I think we can, there's also, this one. How does product sampling help brands grow distribution?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's really about being able to help the brands gather that data that is retailer specific. So we have had brands come to us and say, hey, I really want to get into Costco. How can you help me do that? So we ran a program with them that targeted consumers who shopped at Costco, and we were able to gather that data for them to say, hey, 80% of Costco shoppers are really interested in this product. And some brands even go as far to say, what price point would you purchase this product at Costco? And we're able to tell them, hey, this is the price point that Costco shoppers are comfortable purchasing this product at, as well as, how frequently would you envision purchasing this product at Costco? And being able to have those data points specific to the Costco shopper really helps the brand build out a concrete size of prize that they can present to the retailer and show that their product is a really great fit, and having already tested with their existing shoppers. So it's a really, really cool way to get your product into the hands of shoppers, but also help your brand grow your distribution footprint.
Perfect. I think Pauline is actually trying to get a sample on Sampler right now, and she's talking about potentially seeing not provinces but states on the shipping form. So Pauline, just make sure that you're actually using, you're not on a VPN. If you're using a VPN, potentially to for your work. Potentially, it's detecting you in a different location. So maybe that's the reason why. But in the meantime, while you figure that out, and if you have any more problems, definitely reach out to our customer service at support@sampler.io. But in the meantime, Nick also asked an interesting questions on ratings and reviews and consumer feedback. And can we actually direct consumer to drive the ratings and reviews to another website, like Amazon is the example? So here's the answer. So the cool thing, Nick, is that every single review that is given on Sampler can actually be syndicated to the retail network. And so through an integration with either Bazaar Voice or Yotpo, which are integration partners for Sampler, we can syndicate the reviews collected on Sampler to your Walmart reviews or to your Kroger reviews or wherever syndication is available. The one player in the space that does not do that is Amazon. So that is definitely a wise question. Now, the way we can do that is we send an email to the consumer with a link to the product on Amazon, and we ask them to review there. So we ask them to submit it there. So that is completely doable. And we've also seen people take it one step further, where they'll do a coupon redeemable on Amazon, very high value, or possibly for full value, and ultimately distribute that on Sampler and then get consumers to submit a review after that. So multiple different options, but absolutely we can help you syndicate your reviews across the retailer network. Okay, so we're being asked to share a case study from Kelly, and we actually had one prepared. So Karen, do you want to talk about one?
Yeah, sure. Can you actually go to the next slide?
Oh, do you see it? Earned presence?
Yes, I see it now. So this was a really great program where OB Tampons partnered with us, and what they did was they had worked with a influencer to really promote the message of less waste. And the influencers had a call to action to say, hey, try your free sample now. So really leveraging their media buy and making it a little bit more efficient with the free sample call to action. Now, through this activation, after the consumers saw the influencer asset, they were able to swipe up or click the link to get their sample. And what we saw was really great in terms of feedback. We saw consumers who watched the influencer video were 1.5 times more likely to engage and convert to a rating and review. So really great way to help you grow your rating and review and refresh them. We saw almost 50% of consumers left a review, which is really high, especially in the sense that we don't incentivize them to leave a rating or review. So they really wanted to. They felt like that they really wanted to share their experience with the product organically, and 85% of them said that they would recommend OB tampons to a friend. So again, that's huge. As we all know, word of mouth has a really strong influence in our purchasing decisions. And last but not least, we saw that over half of these consumers had opted into OB Tampon CRM. So these are people that OB Tampon can now create a direct one-to-one relationship with and tell them about, hey, here are new variants for OB Tampon, but also really showcase their brand story and understand why OB Tampon is very different than the other players on the market. So overall, you can see, this was a great example of how a brand added a digital product sampling component to their media plan to make it more effective, but also just grow their brand overall. Awesome. Marie, I see a great question for you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So super excited, everybody. You are the most amazing audience. I think that by now we've received like 50 plus questions from all of you. So I'm overjoyed, and we'll make sure to add these frequently asked questions to our website or something, because they're so good. One that just came out, Karen, that I think you would be really good to talk about is Have we ever worked with luxury brands, luxury beauty brands specifically?
Absolutely. So we love luxury beauty brands, especially me. I'm personally a lover of those. So some examples of the brands that we had worked with include Clé de Peau, so actually one of my personal favorites, and SkinCeuticals. So we do work with a wide range of more luxurious beauty brands. So much that we actually have a question about what kind of beauty brands do consumers purchase, and we actually have a specific tier for consumers for consumers who are currently targeting luxury beauty brands. So if that's of interest, we can definitely talk to you a little bit more about that in detail in terms of how we define those consumers who are actually currently in market for luxury beauty brands.
That's awesome. Yeah, some names that come to mind is we've worked with Guerlain, we've worked with Lancome. Like, there's some really great brands, and so that's awesome. We've been asked a question about the size of the audience. We touched on this before. So Sampler can reach 50 million consumers, and this is across all of North America. There's also questions about the engagement of those users. And as a reminder, Sampler charges consumer or brands on a performance basis. So only when we distribute a product sample to a consumer are you charged. And so our audience is incredibly engaged. They're always excited about trying new samples, but ultimately it's performance based. So there's no risk from your perspective. If ultimately you want to distribute 5,000 samples, we will make sure that we distribute those to our audience. So super cool questions. I think we're getting to the end. I'll save one last one. But before that, I want to say when we close off today, we're going to be sending a follow-up survey to get your feedback on how helpful today was. And we'd love to get your feedback. This is also an opportunity for you to get in contact with us. I believe we might have our contact information. There it is. So if you have further questions, you can email sales@sampler.io. Please connect with Karen and I on LinkedIn. We'd be happy to connect there. This is all our contact information. But bonus question, which one, Karen? Did you see one that was good? Let me see. Bonus question. Oh my God, did we answer most of them? Yeah, one of them was, can you write your contact? So here's the contact. Okay, let me see. Yeah, what kind of brands does Sampler work with? So that's a really good question. So Sampler works across 7 categories. So the top category, food, beverage. The top categories: food, beverage, beauty, cosmetic. Oh, I already said that. Vitamin supplements. What else, Karen? I keep forgetting some. Beverage. Did I say beverage? So about 7 categories, all in FMCG, fast-moving consumer packaged goods is typically, where we do our best. And it's all shapes and sizes. Again, if you're an emerging brand and you want to start small, there is no problem. You can start small with us. You can start with a small number of sample and grow as you go. We work with a ton of emerging brands, so don't hesitate to be in touch. And then we work with a bunch of conglomerates that have larger volume needs, so across the gamut. We're coming up to 3 p.m. and I want to get you back to your next meeting. So thank you so much for joining us today. You'll see our contact, sales@sampler.io, if you want to get in touch, or our website, www.sampler.io. Karen, thank you so much for being my co-host. That was so much fun. And we wish you the most wonderful day.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.